We're off to Indonesia for a small group birding tour organised by Bellbird Tours. Jakarta, a huge, crowded, smoggy metropolis with a population of 10 million engulfing the once vast marshes. Our first stop with local guide Caleb is Muara Angke, a 25-hectare remnant of mangroves in North Jakarta. Freckle-breasted woodpecker from a family of birds we don't have in Australia. Great! This male has a red crown and is typically moving up a tree pecking for ants. Sitting up in the top foliage are pink-necked green pigeons, a common coastal bird. Here's another woodpecker, Sunda pygmy woodpecker, which typically prefers mangroves and is often seen close to the ground, searching for insects and larvae. Further along the boardwalk, we're delighted to see a distinctive member of the crow family, racket-tailed treepie, with its long spatulate tail. We're searching for a large cuckoo, the vulnerable and scarce Sunda cuckoo.
Some of them have all black without brown patch.
Okay, all right.
But normally it has like a small brown patch.
Yeah, this has got a brown patch.
So he's a
Sunda cuckoo.
Sunda.
High five, Caleb.
Yeah. Yes, well done, Caleb.
Walking back, we see red-breasted parakeet with its large bill. A good sighting, as the numbers have been so greatly reduced by the pet trade. A drive out to Java Bay, a short distance, but slowed by heavy traffic. On board a traditional fishing boat for the 15-minute journey to Palu Rambut, an island breeding ground for the rare milky storks. On the way we pass fish traps with poles topped by frigate birds, while egrets perch underneath. The frigate birds are pirates waiting to steal the catches of the other seabirds as they return. This one with the red pouch is a male Christmas Island frigate bird. Just landing is a juvenile great frigate bird. Overhead, graceful in flight, are 5 milky storks. We're heading to the island for a closer look. Unfortunately, we can't land, but there is a stork right overhead. Their very large, decurved yellow bills are certainly fit for purpose. Back to the less than pristine beach to enjoy some lunch, along with the goats. A very early start next day, and we're heading south towards the mountains to Gunung Gede. Gede Pangrango National Park is a very popular birding destination for Java's endemic mountain birds, and after breakfast we head off up the rocky path. The tiny tailless pygmy cupwing is the first bird we spot as it forages on the ground in the dense thickets of the forest floor. It's a thrill to see this minuscule bird, so different from anything in Australia. From high in the treetops comes the monotonous call of the flame-fronted barbet. It's Java's most common barbet, but oh so difficult to view well. Obligingly hunting for insects in the lower forest layers is the pretty little Sunda warbler with its chestnut head and definitive eye ring. Eyes are everywhere in the forest. A very lucky sighting, male Sunda blue robin, uncommon and rarely seen in the open. We've arrived at Telaga Buru, Blue Lake, for a coffee break and are treated to lovely views of a pair of snowy-browed flycatcher. First the female with the orange buffy chest, and then the male with slaty blue upper parts and brighter orange. The trail opens into a clearing with head-high grass, and sitting up clearly is orange-spotted bulbul, a common mountain bulbul between 800 to 3,000 metres. A really exciting moment for us, banded broadbill, a spectacular bulky-looking solid bird with amazing colours, including a blue bill and purplish-red head with broad yellow streaks on its black back. Hopping about underneath on the forest floor, we've spotted Javan tesia, a tiny wren-like bird with a very short tail, endemic to West Java. A little further on, for a lunch break, beside the scenic Chibarium waterfalls, a great place for rest and raptors. A blue triangle butterfly drinks, while above soars an eagle with long wings and tail, black eagle. It's started to rain, so it's back down the slippery path. Nearly missed this chameleon as we're on our way to Cibodas Botanic Gardens, which adjoins the eastern section of the national park and some cultivated terraces. First bird here is the large, noisy chestnut-breasted malkoa. In contrast, a small flock of pygmy bush tits is feeding in the lower canopy. We're working hard to see a Javan hanging parrot, awake and upright, although they sleep hanging down. An avenue of hoop pines and another familiar sight from home, a meadow argus. These gardens are full of insects and animals. A Javan mongoose, capable of killing a cobra, scurries away. Here's the now familiar orange-spotted bulbul. An extremely early starts next morning to get back through Jakarta to Cerita on the west coast. From here you can look out to Krakatoa when it's not hidden by smog. Behind the beach to some pleasant coastal rainforest, more open than the mountain rainforest, but even more difficult for birding, those high trees. The black-banded barbet is calling incessantly, but it's very hard to locate. It stays high. We wait patiently while the banded pitta calls. It's oh so close. Come out, please. It's on the path. Hop, hop. Gone. One for later. It's that barbet again. Gotcha. Back to Jakarta, and we're on a flight to Bali with its vibrant beach life and ancient Hindu culture of colourful ceremonies and exquisite temples. Our first destination is the beautiful Nusa Dua waste treatment plant. What smells? Just look at all those birds. Javan pond heron, great egret, white-breasted waterhen, a fabulous place. Here's a black-crowned night heron with its distinctive black back and crown. A small blue kingfisher is being harassed by a pied fantail. Little pied cormorants are everywhere. This bee-eater has a blue tail, green back and crown, and central elongated tail feathers, identifying it as blue-tailed bee-eater. Joining it is pink-necked green pigeon, which we saw in Java. Water monitors, which can grow up to 2 metres, are common. These are Sunda teal, with the characteristic bulging foreheads. great egret flies across to roost beside a beautiful purple heron. This is a bird of paddy fields, mangroves and particularly freshwater habitats. While we watch little tern feeding, another blue-tailed bee-eater flies in. The sunlight illuminates its iridescent colours. A familiar common egg fly, a reminder that we're in the transitional zone between Australasian and Oriental fauna, which is reinforced when we see olive-backed sunbird, a species which extends down northern Australia. But the tiny bird up high is an Indonesian endemic, scarlet-headed flower pecker. We're attracted by the sweet, constant song of another tiny bird, golden-bellied gerygone, which occurs in a variety of habitats, woodlands, mangroves and coastal lowlands. We return to our hotel near Denpasar for lunch and take the opportunity to look around the gardens. Up pops the ubiquitous yellow-vented bulbul, a common bird around this region in cultivated parks and gardens. Another common bird is this finch, white-headed munia, often exported as a cage bird. Another bulbul, vocal and conspicuous, the sooty-headed, and more finches, scaly-breasted munia, and the beautiful Java sparrow, sadly now listed as vulnerable to global extinction because of the pet trade. In the afternoon, we head off to Serangan Island, and the first bird we see is this small, secretive green and yellow leaf bird, common Iora, which habitually remains among the leaves for camouflage. Another view of pink-necked pigeon. Typically feeding on the ground is bar-winged prinia, a common endemic of the lowlands of Bali and Java. It's a noisy, gregarious and versatile little bird, often uttering its high-pitched tweeting call as it searches for insects. There are plenty of water birds around, although viewing is difficult in the high wind. Greenshanks, godwits, purple herons. And the unmistakable beachstone curlew. We leave Serangan to drive to the Hindu temple at Uluwatu, where white-tailed tropic birds fly in to roost in the cliffs. But tonight, only the monkey mafia is there, waiting to snatch any loose objects. Beware. Another beautiful dawn, and off north to Ubud for a walk around the rice paddies with Sue, our delightful and knowledgeable local guide. First spotted is the familiar golden cisticola, but more exciting for us are great views of sitting cisticola, a species we've struggled to see in Australia, but which is the more common of the two in Bali. At last, a satisfying look at this brown-streaked warbler. Grey fancy butterflies are common in the rice paddies, as are Javan pond herons. Finches are often a crop pest here, and we see white-headed munia again, and a different species, Javan munia, with a white belly and chestnut-brown upper parts. This is a juvenile. We get a brief glimpse of yellow-bellied prinia before spotting the large and very beautiful Javan kingfisher, which doesn't dive for fish, but has adapted well to a diet of insects and terrestrial prey. We're off further north to Tabanan and a wonderful ancient Hindu temple of Pura Hulun, where it's mandatory to wear a sarong. We wander past a Capania's swallowtail to explore the beautiful grounds. great views of the tiny blood-breasted flower pecker, looking very similar to the Australian mistletoe bird. Among the mossy roots is a fulvous-breasted jungle flycatcher with a diagnostic broad band across its chest. And this dark blue bird, putting on a wonderful show for us with its flicking tail, is the Javan whistling thrush, which lives along rivers or rocky mountain outcrops in dense forest. Beautiful. What a tail! An even more spectacular bird, Javan forktail. Is this a robin? It's grey-headed canary flycatcher, a widespread forest bird in Bali and Java, which behaves similarly to a robin. Stretching our necks again for flame-fronted barbet. Leaving this wonderful temple, we're heading further north to Botanic Gardens near scenic Lake Beratan. More lovely ancient Hindu buildings and an enormous strangler fig which has completely eaten its host tree. Agile plantain squirrels dart about us, feeding on leaves and fruits, and more neck stretching shows us Javan grey-throated white-eye. A macaque monkey is snacking on the hillside. Down to the shore of the volcanic lake, and we spot a long-tailed shrike waiting to pounce on prey. We've heard a striated grass wren singing. It's on the roof. It's a large warbler with a boldly streaked back and very elongated, pointed tail. We overnight at the Handara Golf Resort, and next morning we meet our new local guides Harry and Bayu for a stroll through the gardens. The nippy mountain air is keeping the birds quiet, except for the Indonesian honeyeater, the only representative of the family in Indonesia, and very like our equally noisy brown honeyeater. Back for breakfast at the golf club. And then we're excited to be driving along the coast to Bali Barat National Park. On the way we pass through Negara and come across a colony of streaked weavers building nests over the road. The streaky-headed females alone weave the elaborate nests, while breeding males have a golden cap on their black heads. At last we turn into the picturesque national park, with its mountains to the east. In the morning, we're thrilled to be in this park with its 160 bird species, Hindu statues, and barking deer. Pecking through the undergrowth are colourful green jungle fowl, ancestor of the domestic chicken, and zebra dove, almost identical to peaceful dove. Wow! Fantastic views of Bali Myna already. What a glorious bird and wonderful conservation story. Fishtail, drongo. This is ashy drongo. And up high is orange-breasted pigeon. A very brief look at coppersmith barbet. Indonesian national parks feature great viewing platforms. We'd love to have these in Australia. Here's the world's smallest raptor, the tiny and very cute black-thighed falconet. We're off to the Bali Barat Centre, where a breeding program has saved the Bali Myna. Their popularity as cage birds, combined with habitat loss, brought them to the brink of extinction in 2001, with only 6 wild individuals left. Now we're lucky enough to see 5 wild birds straight away. They're cavity nesters with up to 3 broods a year, and as Bali's only endemic bird, Huge efforts have been made to save them. Happily, these seem to be working. Nearby, sitting only a metre from the ground in a dense bush, is this small owl, Sunda scops owl. It drops to the ground to feed on insects, larvae and small reptiles. On the way to breakfast next morning are 2 kingfishers, sacred and collared. A great spot with swifts and swiftlets overhead, but too hard to sort out with breakfast in front of us. Now to the fish farm and salt fields. Sand plover? No, different. A Javan plover. Some difference of opinion on this one. White-headed or black-winged stilt? A pratincoal has us excited, but ironically it's a vagrant Aussie prat, a tick for our guide. Next we head along the beach on wader watch. There are ruddy turnstones, grey tattlers, and good Malaysian plover. This bird is usually seen alone, not with other waders. Another drive to a forested area of the park, where we pass through paddocks with cattle and cattle egrets into the forest, take cover in a hide and wait. We're rewarded when a spectacular female banded pitter hops into view. What a bird! This is the bird we glimpsed so briefly on the track at Charita. Now we can soak up the views. Now she's joined by the even more brilliantly coloured male, with its wider blue band and darker headbands. Oh, we're really enjoying this. Reluctantly we leave the forest for the wide open skies, and flying overhead is a large swift, grey-rumped tree swift with a very long tail and wings. We're driving into Taitamble looking for savannah nightjars. Oh, one just flushed. Are there more? Yes, beautifully camouflaged on the ground. Now we're boarding the ferry to cross to East Java. It's an extremely busy, crowded port. After a packed day, we're glad to arrive at last at our hotel. Next morning, we're up in the dark as usual and driving to Purwo National Park. Alas, the road is not so good, but never mind, because we spot a perched, changeable hawk eagle, and flying overhead is an oriental pied hornbill. At last, a hornbill. At the park entrance is another terrific tower, allowing us fabulous views over a large area. And at its base there is a congregation of green peafowl, with green rather than blue necks like their better-known cousins, Indian peafowl. An aim of this park is to preserve these magnificent banteng or native cattle, which have hovered on extinction. There are also rooster deer, and we get another sighting of oriental pied hornbill. There's a lesser adjutant stalking slowly through the marsh. It has a massive bill with a diagnostic orange neck. A black-winged starling has landed on a banteng. It's joined briefly by brown Bali Myna. The starling is another rapidly declining protected species. Near the forest boundary is another jungle fowl, red jungle fowl, while in the trees is a black giant squirrel. And black-tailed monkeys. Along the forest path we see another bee-eater species, chestnut-headed bee-eater with a squared-off tail lacking the streamers of similar species. Its head's up again for the coppersmith barbet. Next morning, surprise, we're up early again to drive to Mount Ijen and explore its volcanic slopes. The porters have already been to the top and loaded up with sulphur or tired tourists for the downhill run. We head up into the mist and catch a brief glimpse of mountain leaf warbler. Then a better view of mountain white-eye, but the fog is making birding very difficult. We wait patiently for the difficult-to-see Sunda bush warbler to emerge at last. And descend as the sun begins to emerge. Roadside birding means watching out for scooters. But here's a white-bellied fantail. Moving into the forest, we see a barbet behaving like a woodpecker. Further along is a crescent chestnut babbler building a nest. It has an unusual zigzag pattern on its chest. Back on the road, a Javan hawk eagle flies over, as well as crested serpent eagle. There's a lovely flycatcher perched by the road, indigo flycatcher. This is the male. And here's the juvenile. And now it's back down the mountain to our hotel and onto the airport for home. What a trip.